Many people have contacted me to ask what Mike Mentzer's political views were. Politics, as you have experienced, is very much like religion to some people. Party above all. And so, some fans of Mike who are Democrats or Republicans are hopeful that he was a member of the political party they embrace. It took me a while to locate a specific writing of Mike's on politics per se, but I found one, and this video is the result. As a young man, I would often note that the world situation seemed to be growing progressively worse, and would remark to myself, the forces that shaped history, apparently, are still operative. I hadn't a clue as to what those forces were. Many individuals have sought to identify the cause or causes affecting the course of human history, with but a tiny minority succeeding. Some of the misidentifications include the great man theory, human emotions, economic forces, and dialectical materialism. Now, as a student of objectivism, I do understand the fundamental force responsible for shaping the character of a man, an organization, a discipline, a nation, as well as the course of history, namely, philosophy. That is, the power of ideas or basic premises. The disintegration of our culture is the direct result of its having rejected the most crucially important fundamental premise, the foundation of a life-affirming epistemology. Reason, which requires recourse to a rigorous intellectual method to gain valid human knowledge, in favor of that which, by necessity, by the grace of reality, leads to a course of blind self-destruction. Mysticism, which accepts ideas or notions arbitrarily, without recourse to any intellectual method. The majority of people today believe that the only way to rectify the state of things as they are is via a political change. This is mistaken, however, as politics is not a fundamental, but a derivative. It is the final consequence and ultimate practical application of philosophic principles. What is needed, remember, is a change in our basic fundamental premises. The change, in other words, must start from the ground floor up. A change in our culture's basic premises, its fundamental view of man and his relationship to existence, will result in an automatic change in political ideas. As I explained in my book, Heavy Duty 2, Mind and Body, quote, human knowledge is hierarchical in structure.
Forming the base of philosophy's hierarchical knowledge are metaphysics, which studies the fundamental nature of reality and man, and epistemology, which studies the nature of knowledge and man's means of acquiring it. Logically based on and derived from these two fundamental branches is the third branch, ethics. It is only on the basis of having properly identified the fundamental nature of man, including his means of knowledge, and of the universe in which he acts, that it is possible to formulate a prescription for what man ought to do. The next step up man's hierarchical structure of knowledge is politics. Its proper function is to identify and implement the principles that serve as a logical transition from guiding a man's actions to guiding his actions with others.
The problem today is that very few people, apparently only objectivists, understand the above, especially politicians. How are politicians going to deal successfully with political, life and death issues, which represent the calculus of philosophy, when they haven't even grasped the 2 + 2 = 4 of philosophy? What does any of this have to do with bodybuilders? Everything. It is you and I, as members of the culture, who have to effect a fundamental grassroots change in the way we, and eventually a majority, think and view the world, if it is to be saved. Wouldn't it be interesting if bodybuilders, so often thought of as mindless, were instrumental in helping to save the world, or at least to help to redirect it on a more rational course? But why not? After all, it was the ancient Greeks who lived not in a dark age or black hole, as we are today, but a golden age that simultaneously exalted the power of man's mind while idealizing the beauty of the human body. Bodybuilders could conceivably help to achieve a second renaissance, another golden age, if a sufficient number would heal their own mind-body split by reappropriating some of their teeming passion for developing a muscular physique to achieving the intellectual moral ideal. If the basic premises guiding our culture presently are left unchecked and unchallenged, they will lead to their ultimate logical conclusions, namely slavery, dictatorship, and death. Let me remind you that if the Democrats had their way, doctors would have lost control of their field, with the Clintons dictating to medical scientists how they should run their businesses. And there are others at this moment who want to violate your individual rights by dictating whether or not you should be able to take nutritional supplements at your discretion. Our overbearing paternalistic government has already deemed that you are not mature enough to decide for yourself as to whether you should take steroids. How close to home do the anti-mind, anti-life effects of mysticism have to come before you become indignant and assume responsibility for helping to effect a change aimed at achieving an ideal society, that is, one in which a majority are self-regulating, independent individuals who insist that the government perform its only proper function, the protection, not violation, of individual rights? How are bodybuilders going to identify and change what is going on in the world if they are unable or unwilling to critically analyze ideas in their own field of endeavor, which is still dominated by a hoary mysticism? Learning to critically analyze ideas in this field is a good way to start training your mind. When someone asked Francisco de Konya, one of the heroes in Atlas Shrugged, why he had studied philosophy, he responded, "In order to protect myself."